All right, everyone.
Hello.
Once again, we'd like to welcome on our weekly podcast.
Yeah, episode number 2.
Episode number 2. I have Pastor Jaison with me here and myself. So, Pastor Jaison, what we'll be talking about today?
We are going to talk about do not compromise.
Oh, yeah, that's
a big word.
That's a big word. Compromise.
Do not compromise.
Yeah. As I shared with you, right? The month of December, I was reading a book of Daniel, and then, this word hit on my heart: "Do not compromise." After, understanding the life of Daniel and his friends in that kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar, and contrasting with King Jehoiakim's life, who was a king on his own land, and seeing the effect, one versus the other, and I really felt in my heart that God was communicating so many things on that word on that particular day, and especially when I had that travel back to my home, and some of the temptation that I was able to resist. I completely understood, God was on my side and working on my life. So, I really wanted to, talk about this, and I did talk about this there as well. But before diving into the spiritual part of it, since we are living in the physical realm or the physical life, right? Let's talk about the effects of compromise in different areas of life, right? So we interact with food, we interact with our health conditions, right? There is the life at work, right? Life probably at college, or different aspects of life, right? We interact with different things. Let's talk about the effects of compromise in these areas. So one of the things, since I come from a pharmacy background, one of the things that we used to learn was adulteration, right? And especially in food industry right now, if you go out there and buy foods, I think there is no foods. It's very common that there are practice of adulteration in the foods, right? Yeah. But what we do not understand is we are knowingly or unknowingly we are taking it, right? Yeah. I'm also taking it. You are also taking it. But what we are not aware of is about the effects that it is going to bring. Yeah. In later part of the life, right?
Because it's a cheaper viable for us.
Yes.
We end up buying the things that is cheaper for us. We look deep into our pockets than rather looking at our health.
Health, right? That's the effect of compromise.
Absolutely.
Even if you see, like, if you're driving a car, right? If you compromise with, traffic rules and stuff like that, what's going to happen? One day you're going to interact with that, or you're going to face that consequences, right?
Accidents, ticket.
Ticket, right? So let's talk about it more, like in the physical realm. The effects of compromise, and what is the consequences that we have to follow. At the end of the day, the consequences is very permanent, right?
Yes.
We have to face it.
Yes.
So let's talk more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Compromise. One can only understand compromise when you know what the truth is. Right. And also have either experiencing the result of that truth in your life, practicing the right things, practicing something that is something real and good for you. When you compromise, with that very thing, with something that can be cheaper, appealable, easily you can get it, grab it, right? What happens, there's always a consequences. It has a direct effect over your body, over your emotion. Right? So compromise, one can only understand when they know the truth. Once they know that, hey, if this is the principle that will give me good effects, good results, good outcomes are going to come from this, right? Yet I choose to take something else. I trade. That's what the word trade. I trade for something else. I'm willing to give what is valuable for me, what is healthy for me, what is good for me, for something that can be in the long run be harmful for me, right? Like you're going to an organic a grocery store, right? Versus going to a store where you can your dollar can goes a little bit further than what you can buy from the organic store, but there's a long term effect for that.
Right.
Buying organic food will always give you good health.
Exactly.
Right. So that's something that can be applied in every sector of our life.
Right.
So you compromise on something that is valuable for you for something that is not valuable.
Right.
And also what I have learned is something that is, that is cheap for you, right? Okay, now I need to trade something that is valuable for me.
Right.
And also a perspective. When you know something that is valuable for you and you still hold on to that, you invest on that, like last episode we talked about invest on that, it means you value that treasure.
Yeah, that's true. No, and uncompromised stuff or unadulterated stuff are, probably it may not be appealing, right?
Absolutely.
For example, I used to drive Uber while I was in school, right? So I met this guy. I got an Uber request from Whole Foods in St. Louis. So this guy, and then I was like, oh, where this guy will go? I think probably it's a short ride. As always, it's just a $5-6 rides. But that guy was going near airport, right? When I started the trip, then it showed the address somewhere near airport, and I was happy. Oh, I'll be ending up at airport, and again I'll get the ride back somewhere else, right? But while going, I had a very interesting conversation with this guy. I asked him, "Hey, you are here. You are going to this place. It looks like a hotel. You're coming from there to here, Whole Foods. What's the purpose of going Whole Foods?" Back then, I didn't know. So, and he said, we get a lot of organic stuff here. And because I had some digestive issue, I need to take a real cranberry juice. I was like, real cranberry juice? We also get cranberry juice. Why not the one that you get in Aldi? And he said, that's not the real cranberry juice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So he said, it's a bottle he gets at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It cost him around $16 or $17. It's a real cranberry juice, but he told it's pain to drink that juice. It does not taste good. It's not
palatable.
Yes, it's not palatable. So we can see, right? Right? It's not palatable. It may not be appealing, right? But that's the when you eat the uncompromised food or unadulterated food, it will help you in a very long run, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you eat that adulterated food or compromised food, it's going to harm. And we can statistically, you and I, we're very vulnerable here in especially US. We try to eat organic foods, but how much we can control, and statistics shows that the non-preventive diseases like cancer, diabetes or heart problem, those are growing in numbers. So that's what is the effect of compromised food or adulterated food, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important for us to understand value of not compromising. And especially, since we are talking about all this physical stuff, right? We need to understand the value of not compromising on our spiritual life.
Absolutely.
Right? Understanding, the purpose of our life. What is the purpose of our life, right? Our life cannot be adulterated.
No.
The different things cannot be added. This life is pure.
Yes.
It's unadulterated. It's not adulterated. It's we are responsible to make it, look like adulterated by adding different stuff in our life. So it's very, very important. And especially reading this book of Daniel, I'm 100% sure that every steps that I take, my intentions will be that I won't compromise.
That is very important. And also, when you compromise, you are accommodating things that actually doesn't belong in your life, right? You're accommodating, you're making that concessions,
right?
You are adding things that actually may have a very temporary gratification,
right?
It will give you a temporary pleasure,
right?
But in the long run, it comes with the consequences. It comes with burdens, and the result is going to be severe, damaging over you,
right?
But when you stand on the truth, on the principle that I am not going to compromise, whether in the spiritual realm or in the natural realm, in the physical realm, in your finances, in any sector of your life, you have a standard.
Right.
You have a principle.
Right.
That on this, my life is built on. And then something comes on the way as a temptation.
Right.
It has a beautiful, wrapping and, offer along with that. Hey, and it's crazy that the moment you compromise, you give up on that something valuable.
Right.
Whether it's your health,
right.
Whether it's your spiritual being,
right.
The emotional being of your mind,
right.
Or eventually your life in itself, right? You're compromising with that. You're giving that for something that is temporary, right?
Exactly.
Drugs, for example.
Yep.
The temporary gratification. But long run effect of that is the consequences for that, right? Pornography, food, right? Too much overeating, the temporary gratification because you want to numb yourself, right? Now you're compromising, accommodating those things, right? You're numbing with the substance, right? But what you're trading, you're trading your health.
Exactly.
You're trading health, for something that is so temporary. So that's one of the reasons, we think that that we need to understand to develop a clear principle in our life.
Right.
And having the clear principle, with a clear understanding that I am not going to compromise on my health, on my spiritual being, on my emotional being.
Right.
And also it demands commitment from you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Intention and commitment.
For example, for a student to be in the university, right? 4 years of degree.
Exactly.
And there comes, the temptation, quit school and start making money. Hey, start making money. That's a good option for me, right?
Right.
Because eventually after school, that's the whole purpose. I'm going to make money, right?
Right.
So how about now, right?
Right.
But right now, I'm in school, full-time or part-time, online, hybrid, whatever it is. It demands commitment from you.
Right.
Commitment to study, commitment to the thesis, reading and all, attending the classes and all that, right? So what are you going to do? Somebody told my wife yesterday that, hey, you're in school, okay? When you're in school, those years are going to be really sacrificial for you.
Yep.
You have to sacrifice. But always remember, after you sacrifice, you are going to reap the harvest of that sacrifice.
Right.
You're sowing the seed, with tears. That's a Bible teaches. With the tears, you will sow the seeds, but with joy, you will reap. You will reap the harvest, right?
Yep.
So when you compromise, what's going to happen? You're trading that seed for something that is temporary. Quick harvest, quick thing, right? But that quick thing, the quick thing that you get is one, it's not yours. Two, you don't know how long this can sustain because you never planted this.
Right.
But you're waiting for something that you planted.
Right.
And you're not compromising. No, I'm invested. I'm going to spend my emotion, my time, everything. When the time is going to come for you to harvest, you know exactly what you're harvesting.
Right.
You know exactly the joy. You will get the joy because you know you sow those seeds with tears.
Right.
Now you are reaping that harvest with joy. You enjoy every bit of that harvest to the fullest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, when you look, when I was reading that, the story of King Jehoiakim, right? So he was one of the the king who did not do good in the eyes of the God, right? You can see the series of compromise that he does, as you have mentioned, right? He traded God's valuable thing, right, just to be safe. But
playing safe
game, right? But what happened over the course of time? Nebuchadnezzar, slowly, he got the land, and then he had to suffer that, death. We see that, right?
That's what happened with the compromise. When you compromise, it's like the slow process, and slow effect. It creeps into your life.
Yes, there's always going to be a ripple effect that we have to face the consequences, right? So, but at the same time, we can look into the life of Daniel, right, and his friends, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We can see, like, even far away from their homeland, serving the king, right, under different circumstances, right? There is no physical provision for them. They have to.
They're slaves.
They are slaves. They have to surrender with the officials, with the king, right? They have to. But despite of all those, unfavorable circumstances, they stand the ground on truth. And they come out victorious, right? And not only that, the king Nebuchadnezzar blessed them. Blessed them. So that part really touched my heart. When we stand the ground on the truth, we are always there is always going to be a spiritual breakthrough in our life.
Absolutely.
So that's why we need to really, really be careful and understand, we should always go back and rest. Are we compromising with God's values? Are we compromising with God's principle? Where we are leading our life, where we are as a children of God. We need to always go back and retrospect. So that's something I really learned over this 1, 2, 3 months.
And the two groups, so you can find here that one king Jehoiakim, he was in the place of influence,
right,
being the king, and being in an influential place, had all the provision, yet he compromised,
right,
on God-given principles for something that actually had a bigger consequences, not just over his life,
right,
but over the entire nation as well,
right.
But on the other hand, the other group, we can see those Hebrew boys, for Daniel, including Daniel, right? That they were in an unfavorable place.
Right.
They were taken as slaves, right? They were tempted.
Right.
Fair enough. If they would have given up, fair enough.
Right.
Hey, they are in a hostile situation. And don't you think that God will understand? Of course. Hey, you're not in a favorable situation. But they did not think about that. They said, no, this is not how we were raised.
Right.
We are the people of principles, precepts, commandments, right? We follow a way. So even though they were surrounded by hostility, being in a hostile place, being a slave, they did not compromise.
Right.
And you can see that they did not compromise, not just in one area of their life. They did not compromise any area
of their life.
Whether it's a food, whether their lifestyle,
right,
how they conducted their life. They differentiated themselves from the rest of the group.
Yeah, but, and also they were full of wisdom. Like, for example, their name was changed, right?
Yes.
They never questioned on that.
No.
And
that was not their battle.
That was not the battle, right? And then another thing was they were enrolled in his university, right?
Yes.
Preparing for to be a wise man, right? So that means they were forced to learn about their kingdom, right?
Yeah.
But they actually learned it, right? And then they use that point to show how glorified the God they serve.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So that shows, like, we have to be full of God's. We have to use His discernment, right? Conscience very rightly. We need to be with the full of wisdom, right? So we need to understand where we need to act. So that their story has influenced so much.
There's a power that works behind behind that steadfastness.
Right.
That they were steadfast. When you are steadfast, you're not going to compromise. You are going to be strong. You are grounded.
Right.
So they were grounded. Those Hebrew boys were grounded. Because they were grounded, they were able to have that resistance. They were able to resist them. And also you have to see that the way they resisted, their attitude was so kind. They were not, mad. Sometimes we stand on the truth, right?
Right.
But somehow it comes out very either cocky or very arrogant, very prideful. But here we can see they did not compromise because they had the resistance power from God.
Right.
They're steadfast, right? And also God gave them that attitude, that kindness in them that people were coming against them.
Yeah.
They couldn't shake them up. And also they did not take that as a personal attack on them.
Right.
They said, God, we are your people.
It's your. So, like they were also socially, critically, analytically, they're very smart. We can see that, right? So like to get favor, you need to build that relationship. Right. So with Aspenaz, who was the city official for the Nebuchadnezzar, right? So he was the one who was he was acting as a middleman between them and then the Nebuchadnezzar, right? So because he was responsible to give them the food that Nebuchadnezzar ordered, but the request that Daniel puts and the favor that Aspenaz gives to them shows, how beautiful the relationship they were able to establish between with Aspenaz, right? Because for Aspenaz and these guys who were serving Nebuchadnezzar, it was a matter of do or die, right? And Nebuchadnezzar was a very cruel king. He would have.
No, they created an influence there, right?
Yes.
And that's something that we would like to bring it out. When you stand on the truth, when you don't compromise, the Lord is going to give you favor.
Right.
And with that favor, you'll be able to create influence.
Right.
Influence in a hostile situation. We always look for a good situation. We always want to control the situation. We always want to create a situation, a favorable situation to do something.
Right.
No, that's not the way to do it.
Right.
I think we should take a different approach. We should do it. We should live out. The situation is going to change. Don't try to change the situation, then do something. Don't wait for good, favorable situation to be good. No, be good. The situation is going to change because you are an influencer.
Yeah.
And God can move through your life.
Right.
God can open the doors for you. So that's the power of of not being compromising on the values that God has given to you. And here we can see Daniel and those three Hebrew boys. They did not compromise. They stood strong. And the favor, not just the influence, but the favor throughout the book of Daniel. We can see Daniel was able to serve 4 kings.
Yeah. Longevity.
Longevity, right? The kings came, gone.
Yeah.
But Daniel stood. Daniel served.
Yeah.
The longevity of Daniel continued, right? That's the favor. That is the blessing of God.
Yeah.
That is the outcome of not compromising on the values that God has. Of course, they got punished.
Right.
The consequences they had to bear, right? The punishment they have to go through. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, right?
Yep.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego were thrown in the fiery furnace, right?
Yep.
But they did not compromise. Because they did not compromise, God elevated them.
Right.
God took them to the next level of favor and influence.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, and another story that I just was thinking was, Nehemiah.
Yeah.
Right? How he got that favor from King Artaxerxes, right? Yeah. So it's all about his relationship, his character, right? The integrity and accountability that he had as a cupbearer, right? And God used that situation to give him more favor. So yeah, I mean, it's difficult. We wait for good situation to act. But we need to act where God has placed.
Absolutely. That's something, every time I read book of Daniel, what I take as one of the takeaway from that book is, be kind, be God-centered, have that value in your life.
Right.
God will open the doors for you.
Yes.
You don't have to, fight to prove that you're right.
Right.
Your stand in itself is that sign.
Right.
You stand for the truth without compromising. God is going to open up the doors for you.
Right.
God will elevate you. And that testimony is going to travel to the nations.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, and now I want to talk about the because, one of the, moving from spiritual now to, to the entrepreneur area, right? So we know the business like Chick-fil-A, right? And there are so many other business that values, kingdom principle,
yes,
right? The principle of God. There's the business is centered towards, God and godly values, right? So one of the question that usually we get is, if you are a believer of God and if you are, if you walk, if you, want to make God as a center of your life, not only in your personal life, but also in a business life. Yeah. And if you're thinking about opening a restaurant or a store, right? The question is, can I sell alcohol, right? Can I sell cigarettes, right? Can I sell tobacco, right? So this sort of question comes, right? How, as a child of God, we need to face this?
Very good question, actually. Yeah. At that time, if I am opening a store tomorrow, and of course I'm going to keep Christ as the center, and it's going to be a kingdom-minded. If I have that perspective, my objective is always serving people over products. Right? If I'm just there to sell products, without caring for people, then I will sell all those things. I will. But if my purpose is to serve people, serve people is not just, hey, come and buy these things, right? Serving is like well-being of the people. Right. That how well I want to see them grow, be healthy, right? So it's more than like come and buy the product, right? So my focus is, so kingdom principle and the kingdom of God is built on the centrality of Christ and God's people. God so loved the world, John 3:16, right? If God never loved the world, he would have never sent his only begotten son. Right? So it's all about God, it's all about people. Right. So kingdom principle, kingdom application is built on empowering people, serving people, uplifting people, and glorifying God. Okay. So I wouldn't. That's why you will see Chick-fil-A, or they are not selling alcohol. Right. They are not selling tobacco. Right. They are serving people. And when you go there, you will feel served. Exactly. You feel like, oh, I'm somebody. Right. The way they will treat you. Right. Right. There is so much people. And it's not fake. Actually, you can see that all across America in every Chick-fil-A. You could see that. How loving, I think that's how they train people. There has been a case study how they manage their drive-through. Yes. So, people are against, we can see the articles that people are against them, absolutely. But you will never find their drive-through empty. Yes. And the food is so good. Yeah. Right? If you think like we are advertising Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is not paying us. Yeah, Chick-fil-A is not paying us. We have no sponsors. Okay, but we're talking about the values and the principles, right? So that's a very good. And coming back to what we were talking about, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, they're valued people. Right. They valued the authority also. They honored the authority. They never rebelled against, Nebuchadnezzar, right, or Babylon. They did not. They did not start a civil war there, right, right, or a coup, right. Nor did Moses did, right. Moses did not do anything. Any of the characters from the Bible, when they were taken as slaves in the hostile countries, they did not rebel against them. They actually served them. Yeah. Esther became, Xerxes' wife, right? Yeah. But through that, she was able to influence the king. emperor. He was the emperor.
Yeah.
And she was able to change the land and bless her people. Right? Yep. So that's why Bible teaches our fight is not against flesh and blood, right? So we value people, but we come against those powers that is corrupting the land, corrupting the people.
So our actions should be very redemptive.
Yeah.
Right? Just like Daniel, his friends, Esther, or Nehemiah. It should restore people's life.
Absolutely.
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
He is the ultimate story of redemption, right? Who restored us.
They were all pointing towards Christ, right?
Yeah. So their action was all pointing towards Christ. So he is the ultimate redeemer, who redeemed us back to our Father. So so our
that can be a good focus also. That gives you the reason not to compromise.
Right.
That my reason for not to compromise on the principle because I value people and value God.
Right.
When you value people, it means you value yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But if the moment you compromise for something that is a temporary relief and gratification, you don't value. Whether we talk in the health realm or a physical realm, natural realm, supernatural realm, any realm, value. If you lose value. You will lose focus.
Right.
Then it's easy for you to compromise.
Right.
Like for example, I was reading somewhere that they did a study on serial killers.
Right.
So there's an interview there. Then the guy is asking the serial killer that, killed 35 people. He said, "What you felt?" He said, "The very first time I killed my first victim, I actually did not kill him. I actually killed myself. I killed my conscience." So the very first person. Then for him, rest 29 people that he killed, it was just, he was numb. So when you stop valuing people, when you stop value God and yourself and people, you're killing your conscience. Then it becomes, an action that is driven from as a dead man. You're a dead man.
Right.
Then you're killing yourself, right?
Right.
But the moment you stand without compromising on that principle, you're becoming more alive.
Right.
You're becoming more, a person with life.
Amen. Yep. Yeah. So that's very true.
It's a good conversation. Huh?
No, I'm loving it. I'm telling you, like the whole. While I was flying from, I could not get my eyes off that book. Like I flew from New York to Delhi, till the time I reached back to Bagdogra. I was reading that book on Daniel and is basically the reference book, which was mix of commentaries and then the real life application. It was so good. Yeah. So I'm telling you, I love this book, and it's not just reading, but I'm looking forward to apply that in my life as well.
Yeah.
So the last part probably we'll discuss here, and then we can go and talk about a few of the applications or the few of the takeaways from this conversation is the seed. When I was reading Jeremiah, so we have two characters here, right? King Jehoiakim and then the Daniel, right? So basically they both were Jews, right? One was the king. The other was a little boy growing up, ended up being slave, right? They both were seed, right? Jeremiah talks about, the prophecy that God gives him, or the word that gives him in Jeremiah 24 was, God was saying to him that, hey, I am going to build my seed. Even if you are exiled, don't think I'll forsake you. I'll place my seed there. Right? The blessed seed. I'll equip them, empower them, right? And then we can see people like Daniel ending up.
It was their prophecy towards them. Yeah.
But, God gave them choice to this Jehoiakim as well, right? Because Jeremiah also goes to this king and talks about the coming consequences that he has to face if he doesn't obey the word of God, right? He was also a seed, right? God sent him his prophet, gave him the word, but what he does is basically, tears the scroll and puts it in the fire, right? And then he bears the consequences
of that.
So I really want to focus on at last, especially on the takeaway part, is how can we become a blessed seed with the right purpose of God that comes directly to us, right? And how we can direct our life from here, aligning with the purpose of God. So that's the
exactly
takeaway I want to discuss.
And the word that you use, blessed seed, right? The seed is that initial investment, the initial step that has the potential to grow. Exponentially.
Right.
A tiny seed has the potential to grow exponentially, right? So your action, standing without compromising, you yourself become that blessed seed that can actually birth exponential blessings, not just for you, but for so many lives.
Right.
So, you right now, you may think that it's a hard grilling season of your life,
right?
But we want to encourage you, just like those young boys, just like Nehemiah, they were able to be that influence and create influence wherever, whether it was a favorable or unfavorable places,
right?
That consequences of that was big,
right?
So let's not be like Jehoiakim, who had all the favors around him, who had enough and more warning and the word,
right?
But he did not give his ears to them or to those words. He was able to just follow his own intuitions, own flesh,
right?
Temporary things, right?
Right.
And he was able to bear a very bad consequences.
Right.
But on the other hand, we can see enough and more examples. Young people like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Nehemiah, they all stood. An ultimate example we can give with Christ himself.
Yes. Yes.
He stood on the principle. He never compromised on the purpose.
Right.
That that he came for.
Yeah.
And he had to bear the cross.
Yeah.
But through the cross, there was a redemption.
Yeah.
You and I, we can come to the redemption through that sacrifice of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So your sacrifice, your investment, standing without compromising on that truth and the principle can lead the way for so many people to reap the blessings.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, our action can be redemptive.
Yes, absolutely.
Our action can restore people's life back to God. So my takeaway is, becoming continue to become a blessed seed. Intentionally invest my time in meditating and studying the Word of God. Not compromising with God's values, and what I'm looking for is becoming that fourth seed that Jesus talks about in Matthew chapter 4, and growing exponentially.
Yes.
Growing exponentially in the kingdom and bearing much fruit. So
absolutely,
that's my takeaway, and that's my challenge to myself.
Yes, absolutely. And I have one takeaway, that rather than being short-sighted, develop that vision, that long-sighted vision. So and that focus towards that. When the trials are going to come, challenges are going to come, temptations are going to come, I'll be able to continue to focus on that long run, the long vision that I have. So this is our conversation, episode number 2. Not to compromise, and hope we can hear back from you. And this is just the beginning of our podcast series. And subscribe and share with your friends. And hope this is a blessing. And if you have any questions, please
reach out to us.
We are here to help and pray. May the Lord richly bless each one of us. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you all next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.